What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. And today is my 2021 Mr Olympia results and review episode. I'm going to give you the top 5 results, run through who placed where and why, plus much more. Also, I'm going to do another video. It's going to be a deeper dive, and I'm going to go through every competitor, or at least almost every competitor in that 2021 Mr Olympia lineup. Big Ramy takes his second Mr Olympia title over a very impressive, very improved Brandon Curry and a very, very hard and shredded Hadi Choopan. But let's go from 5th all the way down to 1st. So Nick Walker, in his first debut Mr Olympia, gets 5th place. Very, very impressive. It's hard to know exactly where Nick should have placed. I maybe would have had him one spot higher over the top of Hunter Labrada, although Hunter was very impressive, and I sort of knew he was going to be top 4 based on some of the call-outs at finals. But Nick came in very, very good. Maybe not quite as crisp as he was at the Arnold Classic. Obviously different lighting, hard to tell. He still was very, very hard, and I was impressed with the package that Nick Walker brought to the Olympia stage, especially his first go out, and he definitely is going to be a contender for that Mr Olympia title in the future, and maybe even as early as next year. In 4th place, we had Hunter Labrada, and many people weren't picking him inside their top 6, let alone inside the top 4. Much improved, very, very impressive, and he, beat the Arnold Classic champion from last week, or from 2 weeks ago, sorry, in Nick Walker, and, many people wouldn't have predicted that whatsoever. So, very impressive package for Hunter Labrada. He was much harder than he's been in the past. He still looks like he has a film of water, even though his physique was, more filled out and harder overall, but he still looks like he has that slight film of water. So, if he was able to get rid of that, then he'd really be challenging that sort of top 3, but I don't think he's quite there yet, and to me, it was sort of a reasonably clear top 3, in my opinion, with Hadi Choopan, Brandon Curry, and Big Ramy, but a very, very impressive Hunter Labrada, and I'm excited to see what the future brings for him. In 3rd place, Hadi Choopan. Now, at the pre-judging, I thought, okay, well, Hadi's hard as he normally is. He seemed probably a little bit harder than normal, just very, very slightly, but he did seem a little bit downsized in some body parts, especially the legs, when I've analyzed it a little bit more from my pre-judging review. It seems like his legs were a little bit down because last year and the year before, his legs were bursting full. They looked absolutely enormous. This year, they weren't as much. Also, Sean Ray did point out on the commentary as well, and I've pointed out in some of my videos, and normally I don't sort of vibe with what Sean Ray sort of says, but the delts, I think, were a slight issue. They did seem to be a little bit worse this year overall. Still, in a lot of poses, you don't notice it, but in some you do, and I do notice that, and maybe because Hadi Choopan made a big deal out of what Dave Palumbo and what they said on RX Muscle, and maybe it became more obvious to the judges, because the judges are human too, and if they see that and they notice the delts a little bit more and they're a bit pokey, then maybe that sort of hurt him a little bit. But overall, a very, very impressive version of Hadi Choopan. It'd be interesting to see if he was actually maybe even pushed up into 2nd in terms of the judging at finals, because Honey Rambod's guys, like Phil Heath back in the day, he was Mr Saturday Night. A lot of his guys tend to come in better at the finals when they do it pre-judging, and I think that was the case tonight as well. In 2nd place, Brandon Curry, the most impressive version of Brandon Curry I have ever seen. I thought he was tremendous. Brandon actually told me privately as well after pre-judging that he was at least 10 pounds heavier than he was last year, and it showed. I'm actually going to do a video of the comparison of Brandon Curry's last 3 Mr Olympias, 2019 when he won it, when he's super full, 2020 when he was super shredded but a little bit more flat, and then this year where I think he's a perfect combination of the two. And personally, I had Brandon Curry winning this show. You can go back and check out my pre-judging pose-by-pose analysis versus Big Ramy. I put a card at the top of the screen now, so you can check that out. But I thought Brandon Curry was tremendous. Where he lost it was probably in the back shots. I mean, it was the legs, in terms of the glutes were in, but he doesn't have quite as much sweep as Big Ramy, but the legs were more filled out than they were last year, that's for sure. From the side, his legs were completely fine. Like, they looked huge from the side, so the side shots were instant winners for Brandon Curry, in my opinion, over Big Ramy. Also, the most muscular. Brandon Curry won that shot, so there's 3 shots minimum Brandon Curry's winning, and you can debate some of the other ones as well. So if Brandon Curry didn't win this show, he was very, very close, in my opinion. But opinions were sort of split. It seemed like, when polls were put up and stuff online, that, 55 to 60% of people had Big Ramy winning, and then it was about 40 to 45% of people had Brandon Curry, or maybe Hadi Choopan winning as well. So I thought Brandon was tremendous, and Big Ramy, the eventual winner, I think he was very similar to last year. There's a few little differences though. I think in some areas he was a little bit bigger, like the legs seemed a little bit bigger overall, So I think that's why some people were saying that Brandon's legs weren't improved. But Big Ramy's, when you compare side-by-side photos, his legs were a little bit bigger again. Overall, he looked a little bit bigger. But where he did fall down a little bit, I think like on the ab and thigh, his waist seems a little bit wider. And that sort of worries me for future years for Big Ramy because, I don't know if he can be a guy that runs off a 6, 7, 8 Mr Olympia titles based on what we've seen, I suppose, for the last couple of years. Also, I just don't think he has the flow, and I think his physique eventually will start to fade. And you've got to remember, Big Ramy's been competing for a while now before he got that first Mr Olympia last year. So I think for Big Ramy, this was an impressive package. I mean, it's probably his second best or third best package of all time on stage. I'd have to say it's his second best because none of the other packages were really close to winning a Mr Olympia, unless you include maybe one of those, Spanish Arnold Classics or something like that. But overall, very impressive top 5 overall. I mean, none of these guys really missed the mark. And if, Big Ramy, you can say he missed the mark a little bit, but it wasn't dramatically. If he missed it by a little bit more, Brandon Curry would be your 2021 Mr Olympia, in my opinion. And I thought he definitely could have been anyway. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Who did you have winning the 2021 Mr Olympia title? And how do you think it will actually play out on the scorecards? Also, is there anyone else you think should have been in that top 5? You obviously had William Bonac, who I assume would have been 6th place here. You had a ton of Ian Valier, you had Justin Rodriguez, you had Akeem Williams, a ton of really good competitors sort of filling out that top 10 as well. And when we do have that final results list, I will do a full breakdown of the entire Mr Olympia lineup and all the results. But so let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, if you guys like and appreciate this content, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. So for Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.